On Earth, we have numerous kinds of life such as microorganisms, plants, animals, and human beings. Biodiversity is the most complex feature on Earth, and it is essential for human health and well-being, economic prosperity, food safety, and security. Biodiversity refers to every living thing, including plants, bacteria, animals, and humans. The biodiversity means the variability among living organisms from all sources, and the ecological complexes of which they are part, and includes diversity within species, or between species, and of ecosystems. On Earth, approximately 1.7 million species of animals, plants, and fungi have been recorded, but there are likely to be 8 million, and possibly up to 100 million. A single spoonful of soil, which ultimately provides 90% of all food, contains 10,000 to 50,000 different types of bacteria.
The Convention on Biodiversity, which itself came much further back. If we trace back, it goes back to 1945 when the United Nations came into picture, and Stockholm Convention in 1972, where the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment and UNEP was established. And that was the route for where our CBD, our own very CBD, comes into picture. And currently, this Convention on Biological Diversity has 196 members. All UN member states except USA are part of it. And the main idea of having the CBD in place were threefold: having conservation of biological diversity, taking care of sustainable use of its components, and fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising out of this. So with that, diversity becomes important. Now, biological diversity is defined very, very broadly in the Act, which means the variability among living organisms from all sources, and the ecology within species or between species and of ecosystems. So naturally, the regulation of biological diversity would be very difficult. So the regulation is focused on biological resources. And what are biological resources as per the law? They are plants, animals, microorganisms, their parts, genetic material, and bioproducts.
The aim of India's Biodiversity Act 2002 is to conserve the rich biodiversity of the country. The Act was implemented in 2003 under the auspices of the National Biodiversity Authority. As per the Biodiversity Act, National Biodiversity Authority is responsible for access and benefit sharing, approval for access to, transfer of biological resources, technology of scientific research, to foreign citizens, companies, or non-resident Indians, and several other matters related to conservation of India's biodiversity.
So, whenever a biological resource is to be accessed, the users and providers, they reach an agreement that yes, we will be accessing it, and in return, we will be sharing some benefits. And the access and benefit sharing rules are based on Article 15 of CBD, where the governments create systems that facilitate access to genetic resources for environmentally sound purposes. They ensure that the benefits resulting from their use are shared fairly and equitably between users and providers. And the users seek access to genetic resources for scientific research, development of commercial products, or for whatever use they want to do. And the providers of these resources, that in exchange they would be getting benefits, which would be a share of whatever benefit the person.
On December 16, 2021, India proposed amendments to the Biological Diversity Act of 2002 by introducing the Biological Diversity Amendment Bill 2021. Among other things, The Act imposes an access and benefit sharing fee on companies that use biological resources in their operations. These fees are collected for the conservation of biodiversity, local communities, and traditional knowledge.
PIC and MAT besides ABS. PIC is prior informed consent. Now the provider country has to give prior consent. That's the base of ABS regulation. And the agreement is to be based on mutually agreed terms, MAT. So whoever is working on biological resources and going ahead with getting permissions, do remember that it is prior permission, and any agreement which is given to you, you don't need to sign it, you can negotiate it.
India is a leading country in having established a comprehensive legal and institutional system to realize the objectives of the Convention on Biological Diversity. In India, the biodiversity projects are implemented by National Biodiversity Authority and supported by the United Nations Environment Programme through funding by the Global Environment Facility, helped to achieve this through improved biodiversity utilization for improved rural livelihoods. The implementation of the Biological Diversity Act and rules with a focus on its access and benefit sharing provisions, the project aimed to improve access to biological resources, assess their economic value and better share their benefits among local people. It covered 10 of the country's 29 states such as Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim, West Bengal, Goa, Karnataka, Odisha, Telangana, and Tripura. India has significant global hotspots of biodiversity. Sikkim, for instance, has 422 species of birds, and 697 species of butterflies, 4,500 species of flowering plants, 362 species of ferns, and fern allies, and a rich diverse